Our guest tonight is Impact Wrestling star Petey Williams. How you doing?
How's she going, eh?
Oh, you got very Canadian. I don't know what to do right now.
Very Canadian.
I
appreciate that.
There's nothing you can do.
Yeah, our buddy Mike Chiari, he says he's from quote unquote air quotes Buffalo, but I've seen the passport. I know he's from Toronto.
I'm close enough.
He's very close, and he smells like maple syrup all the time. It's disgusting.
Yeah, no, then he's
Disgusting.
definitely Canadian.
It's wonderful.
Okay. On Sunday, November 5th, at Impact Wrestling's Bound for Glory pay-per-view, you challenge 5 other wrestlers for the X Division Championship. What can fans who don't watch Impact Wrestling every week, or some fans who have never tuned in before, expect from this matchup?
Well, it's definitely going to be high-flying. I mean, if you look at any former, like you go back like 13 years, 13 years, whatever you want to do, what the X Division used to be. I mean, that's kind of, what we're going for, bringing back the glory days. And I think some of the names will be recognizable, like Matt Sydal will be in the match. Those that are familiar with the WWE product should be familiar with Matt Sydal. Myself, Sanjay Dutt, just some guys that have been around for quite some time. And then guys that, the wrestling fans might not know, strong up-and-comers like Trevor Lee and Desmond Xavier, and even, Garza Jr., who's been around for a bit, but, American fans might not know him.
Mike Chiari?
Well, you were a significant part of TNA during its infancy, and the company's obviously undergone a lot of changes since then, from different names to different ownership. But how does being with Impact Wrestling now compare to the early days in terms of the locker room, the presentation, the overall atmosphere?
Well, I went back, I've been with the company 3 times total, we'll say, for this conversation. So the first time I was under contract and all that kind of stuff, great, loved it. People that were in the office, I was having a great time. I went back in 2013, big change in the office. I didn't really know anybody. It was kind of like me just I didn't feel like I belonged when I went back during that era. And then what kind of drew me back to this time was, when Scott D'Amore reached out to me, he's like, hey, here's the guys that are writing for the show and booking and all that kind of stuff. And he mentioned the names, and a lot of the names were similar to the same writers that were on the show back from 2004 to 2009 when I was first there. So that's what I felt comfortable with. And I was like, yeah, I'd love to do something like that again. So I kind of went back, and it was different in 2013, but right now it's very similar to when the feeling I had from 2004 to 2009, kind of like feeling on the upswing, like we're building towards something again. So those are the differences right there.
BG?
Well, many fans are looking at your match at Bound for Glory as the one that will steal the show. So what is your training process like heading into a match with those high expectations at one of the biggest shows of the year for the company?
It's tough, especially when you have a multiple man match. Obviously, I'd prefer a one-on-one match. That way, I could kind of come up with a game plan or strategy beforehand, knowing, the atmosphere we're going to be in Canada, all that kind of stuff. But right now, the strategy is we have so many moving parts and 6 bodies in the ring. It's hard to it's hard to put together and think of a strategy beforehand. So it's kind of going to be, I'm not really thinking about anything. Just eating a lot of Halloween candy and trying to get fat, and then I'm going to go in and Bound for Glory and hopefully win the X Division title for the 3rd time in my homeland. I mean, that's the goal.
That was also my goal today, is to get fat by eating Halloween candy, but I have a different end goal. You're going to go try to win a championship. I am going to try to get more fat.
Goals, five bills.
I'm trying to hit that $5 bill number. Well, you returned to Impact Wrestling in August, created a genuine buzz in the wrestling world. What went into your decision to come back, and what was the signing process like for you?
So the decision and the signing process. So the decision to come back was, and I've told this story a few times for other interviews and all that kind of stuff. Scott D'Amore, he reached out to me and he said, and it was back in February, and he said, your name's been brought up in the creative meetings a lot. I feel like you would like the schedule. He pitched to me every 6 weeks. They film 4 episodes in a 4-day block in 6 weeks. It's not like that right now. we're filming like, I don't know, like 12 weeks in a 5-day block. So he's like, yeah, you would like the schedule? I think it would work for you. And I said, oh, yeah, that does sound like a nice schedule. And he said, here's who's writing for the show again. And it all sounded like really enticing, something I want to do. But I was just like, Scott, I'm just not interested. I'm content and not wrestling anymore. But, Scott knows me. Scott knows what gets me. And he started asking about my kids. And he was like, oh, I thought maybe your kids might want to see what their dad used to do. And I'm like, oh, man, might get to bring that up. So, totally like using my kids, like tugging at my heartstrings that way. So I said, to be continued. I'll think about it. And I went to my wife and I said, hey, listen to this like ridiculous conversation that I just had with Demore, and I'm like rolling my eyes and all that kind of stuff. And she's like, well, what? And I tell her about the conversation, and she just looks me in the eye and says, do it. And I'm like, well, hold on, time out. I said, well, what? And she's like, yeah, do it. She's like, go back. It'll be fun. It'll be awesome. I'm like, I don't think you understand. Like, it's not just me going to wrestle every, so many weeks for TNA. I'm like, I'm going to have to, not skip like, leg day at the gym anymore. I'm going to be working out harder and tanning and all that kind of stuff and dieting and so on and so forth. And, but she was all for it. So, it was all her support and all that kind of stuff. And you can thank Demore for kind of reeling me in. And then when he said Sanjay was on the booking team, I was like, oh man, like one of my best friends. I'm like, I got to do it. So I'm just having a really good time. That's my goal this time around, just to kind of like take it all in, so to speak, like stop and smell the roses, because I didn't enjoy it last time. I felt it like it went by way too quick. So this time I'm just kind of soaking it in and just having a good time. You asked about the signing process. I don't have like a long-term thing with TNA. We'll just say we go on a show-by-show basis, kind of, I guess we could say.
Mike Chiari?
There's a saying that time off can be a wrestler's worst enemy, but from your perspective, how did retiring and coming back to perform impact you? Do you think it was beneficial, or was it a real challenge for you to kind of work your way back to where you needed to be?
I mean, it was a challenge, but it wasn't like, I didn't feel like it was too big of a challenge. I mean, it's not like when I stopped wrestling, I just stopped working out and stopped, I just let myself go. I was continuously still in the gym and all that kind of stuff. I just didn't have anything. I wasn't working towards a goal. I wasn't working towards, wrestling every weekend or every week or whatever the case may be. And then after 3 years, I stepped back in the ring. I kind of went to Demore school and I rolled around a little bit, and, my equilibrium was kind of off. I was just doing like forward rolls like I normally do. And I got up and I was kind of dizzy, and my body's not used to it. So just getting your body back used to it, kind of adapt it to the way it was before, it takes a little bit. And I mean, I think I had 3 training sessions, like 20-minute training sessions, just to kind of get my footwork back before I hopped back in the ring. And I mean, I felt like it came to like really quickly, like the wind, like getting my wind and my cardio up, that takes some time just because that's how the human body is. But mentally, I was like, oh yeah, I remember how to do this. This is second nature to me. So, I mean, I wish I didn't take the time off when I look back at it, because I'm wondering where my career would be hadn't I taken that time off. But it is what it is, and no regrets. And, I mean, I feel like I'm back to where I was before.
Brandon Gavin, next question.
You first joined Impact when the company was still young and doing a lot of innovative things, especially with the X Division. So moving forward after Bound for Glory, is there anything you would like to see the company do differently to push the envelope further, whether inside or outside the X Division?
Well, in the X Division, I don't want them. Okay, so here's how we'll do this. So I know the Impact Wrestling offices, they like to see that, nice, high-flying, exciting match. I get it. I understand. That's what the people want to see. But I also want it to make sense. And I don't want – and that's what I try to – even when I do a lot of independent shows and all that kind of stuff, I try to tell these – well, I call them kids because I'm not I'm older now, but, these young 20-year-olds and stuff like that just coming up, I say – you do so much cool stuff. Like, I can't even do half the cool stuff that you do. But I'm like, you don't make it mean anything because you're just doing cool move after cool move after cool move, and the crowd's just sitting there waiting for the next cool move. And I try to tell them, like, take the cool moves that you want to do, build towards it, tease it, do something rather than just do a cool move. So, I mean, that's one thing I really want to focus on, in the X division is, bring it back to the way it used to be. Like, we didn't just do cool move after cool move. We were, like, building, like, a match and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what I want to do and go back to, because that's when I felt like the X division was the absolute best.
Well, with the rise of the cruiserweight division in WWE, have you ever been contacted by them about possibly joining the company? And do you think there would be any interest there if they were to call?
I have not been, well, to answer your first question, I haven't been contacted by them. When the 205 Live started, I was retired, so they probably were like, oh, he's retired, that kind of thing. And if they contacted me, I don't know. I've thought about a lot of different avenues and stuff like that. The big thing with going back to Impact Wrestling was their schedule. And I know there's not a schedule like that in WWE or NXT or anything like that. And I feel like, if I did do anything with WWE, I would probably, if I had to move to Florida, that's not something I'm willing to do, to work out of the Performance Center. That's something I can't do. Yeah, of course, I'm interested in wrestling anywhere. My goal is to wrestle in front of people. So if there's people there, I will wrestle. And to me, it doesn't really matter who I wrestle for. I just want to do it. I'm happy to be with Impact because, that's where I started, and I feel like I'm at home when I'm there. I feel very comfortable and stuff like that. So, it doesn't matter to me. Like I said, this time around, I'm having fun. I'm not worrying about so much the business aspect of it or anything. It's fun for me this time around.
Mike Chiari?
Perhaps the main thing you're synonymous with and always will be is the Canadian Destroyer. One of the coolest and most devastating moves in wrestling, in my opinion. What was the process of creating that move like, and how does it make you feel when you see other wrestlers around the world utilize it as well?
That's been the big thing right now is, I'd read on Twitter, like, when I was still retired, and there's other wrestlers saying, like, hey, attention all wrestlers, like, stop doing the Canadian Destroyer, all that kind of stuff. It's fine. Part of it, I'm like, guys, everybody's doing it. Why are you guys doing this? But then part of me is like, that's cool because, imitation's the best form of flattery, they say. So, and it's not like they call it something else. They're calling it a Canadian Destroyer or the Destroyer or some variation of the Destroyer. People know what it is. So it's not like it's being stolen from me. It's just being copied. And, I'm okay with it. It doesn't matter because, if you look in the future of wrestling and all that kind of stuff, even when I'm dead, like years from now, there's still going to be the Canadian Destroyer, like the moves being used by somebody that's probably not even born yet. So that's cool that I was able to create something in wrestling that's, going to withstand the test of time. It's going to be there forever. Not so many people could say they've done that.
Brendan Gowton, final question.
I recently rewatched your match with AJ Styles from Victory Road in 2004. And if a fan has never seen a Petey Williams match before, is there one that stands out to you that you would choose to show them?
Probably not that one. It's so tough because I feel like I matured as a wrestler over time, like aspects of me. I still felt very immature as a wrestler and my character and all that stuff when I did wrestle AJ, and that it was 2004, then went on. And then I think I slowly kind of built into my character. I like my second X Division title run better, like when I wrestled guys like, or when I just started doing the Maple Leaf Muscle gimmick, when I started wrestling like Jay Lethal and Xavier Woods and Frankie Kazarian. I felt like those were some of my better matches with the company. And those are all probably like around 2008, around that time. So if anybody were to look up those type of matches, or those matches that I've had, I like those ones better than the ones I've had earlier on in my career, just because I was still learning. I mean, I was young, and just the Canadian Destroyer move was so fresh to me and all that kind of stuff. I didn't really know the power I had with that move, and now I'm able to pretty much create my whole match based around psychology-wise trying to hit that move, and that's something I didn't know how to do beforehand.
Well, a huge thank you to our guest tonight, Petey Williams. Catch him stealing the show at Bound for Glory on Sunday, November 5th on pay-per-view, as well as his podcast, The Wrestling Perspective, available anywhere podcasts can be found. Tell the fans where else they can support you on social media.
They can support me on Twitter at @PeteyWilliams.
Fantastic. And another huge thank you to Petey Williams. Good luck moving forward, sir.
Oh, guys, it was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.